Have you ever wondered what that big, oversized puck was that slid down the ice during the Winter Olympics? Did you also wonder why those men and women were sweeping in front of it? Well, if you have, you witnessed a centuries old winter sport called curling. This sport has its origins in medieval Scotland, and this speech will cover the origins, history, and its most notable players and place in modern sports culture. Firstly, I would like to discuss the origins of this winter sport. Curling has its roots in 16th century Scotland, where large discs made of stone were slid across frozen lakes. According to Britannica.com, the following is stated. Curling is associated especially with Scotland, where the game dates to the early 16th century. The sport would then expand throughout the centuries, with the Grand Caledonian Curling Club having been established in 1838. This same curling club would then become the Royal Caledonian Curling Club in 1843. In 1966, the International Curling Federation was also founded in Edinburgh. It must also be said that Sweden can also be considered foundational to the worldwide spread of curling, despite the sport's origin in Scotland. This is because of the number of Scottish immigrants that resided in Sweden during the 19th century. This phenomenon is explained in the following excerpt from Frey Lakes to Land O'Cakes, Curling, Scotland, Sweden, and Historical Undercurrents. It is not workers he praises for introducing curling, however, rather it is owners. In this case, the Thorburn family, a dynasty of Scot immigrants based at the town of Uddevalla, north of Gothenburg. This is a perfect example of the sport of curling being brought to Sweden by Scottish immigrants. In addition, the introduction of curling to Sweden has also had a lasting effect on the scene in the country even today, being stated in this excerpt from the previously mentioned source. Introduce introduce introduced the Scottish national game of curling in their club, founded in 1846, still exists today. Now that the history of curling has been established, I will then talk about how to play the sport of curling. Secondly, I will talk about how to play the sport. Curling involves directing a large stone, called a curling stone, down a sheet of ice toward a target, called a house. This is done by applying pressure on the ice while simultaneously sweeping in front of the curling stone. The more pressure applied, the further the stone will go. This is because the friction of the sweeping causes the ice pebble coating to melt, thus creating a path for the stone to travel on, as well as maintaining momentum. According to the National Library of Medicine, the following is stated. Players sweep the ice in front of the stone to momentarily increase the temperature of the ice as the stone passes over it and reduce the friction between the stone and the ice. This explains the science behind how a path is generated for the curling stone while sweeping down the ice. Doing this requires a great amount of force and concentration and can become very fatiguing after an extended period of time. Even before the stone is launched from the hack, the footrest from which the curler slides, great attention to detail is required to make the most accurate shot possible. After having gone over the logistics of the game, I will now transition to the most famous figures in curling, now that we have established its origins and logic. Finally, I will talk about the most famous men and women who play this sport. As obscure as the sport may be, there are many famous and accomplished athletes. However, I will name a very talented couple of them, Eve Muirhead of Scotland, UK, and Nicholas Edin of Sweden. Both curlers are very experienced at the sport and have racked up tons of awards in their discipline, especially Olympic medals. Starting with Muirhead, the Perth, Scotland native has won a total of 11 gold medals in her entire career. According to Reuters.com, the following is stated. Eve's 11 gold medals in Olympic Games, World Championships, and European Championships are a true testament to her dedication to curling over these years. This is a display of the immense magnitude of her talent. According to the same source, she was also the youngest skip at the 2014 Olympic Winter Games, which took place in Sochi, Russia, to win a bronze medal. As for Swedish curler Nicholas Edin, he is also very talented and accomplished curler hailing from the town of Örnsköldsvik. He was first introduced to the sport at age 14, with another Swedish curler by the name of Elisabeth Gustafsson being his main inspiration, having won the bronze medal in 1998 in Nagano, Japan. He was also the only skip to win 3 Olympic gold medals in the entire history of the World Curling Federation. The mentioned feat stated in Players Wiki goes as such. Nicholas Edin is a Swedish curler who has achieved remarkable success in his sport and has earned multiple prestigious accolades. Adine holds the distinction of being the sole skip in the history of the World Curling Federation, or WCF for short, to capture 3 Olympic gold medals: gold in 2022, silver in 2018, and bronze in 2014. These awesome feats by both curlers go to show just how seriously this obscure yet fun sport is taken. In conclusion, the sport of curling is one that is full of fun despite its niche nature and has a lot of history, action, and fun that make this sport a unique experience. With this sport on the rise all over the world, it will soon have an even bigger role on the world stage of sports, especially with popularity rising steadily in African and Caribbean countries with warmer climates. There have also been efforts to increase the sustainability of the sport by sourcing the material used to make curling stones from different sources, as its current material, granite, is rare and solely sourced from Ailsa Craig, a small island off the coast of Scotland. With all that being said, curling will forever hold a spot in the hearts of many winter sports fans and will continue to take the winter sports realm by storm.